Now let's try to dive a little deeper into this topic and how he does that over a period of the software development. One important thing that we need to keep in mind is the fact that the responsibility or the role of a tester really doesn't start with sprint planning or during the sprint execution. It needs to start much early when the release planning process itself starts. During the release planning, tester has a responsibility in terms of contributing to the discussion in sizing the story. Specifically, he can bring a lot of value in terms of bringing his perspective in terms of the testing efforts required. We need to remember the fact that a feature is not complete unless the testing is done. So the efforts required for the testing is also a part of sizing the story. Also, he plays an important role in terms of prioritizing, understanding the dependencies and contributing to that discussion. So his inputs to the product owner plays a key role in terms of prioritizing the features also. But most importantly, this is a time when a tester starts thinking about his test strategy. So one approach he can use is the test quadrant, which we are going to talk in the coming slides, and identifying his strategy regarding the testing, where he need to spend time on. Should he automate? What should he automate? Whether there is a need for the load testing, whether he should focus on the performance testing. All this aspect, all this thought process has to be started at the release planning itself. And before the sprint planning happens, he has a time where he can bring clarity so that people are on the same page in terms of the requirement or the features or the user stories. Also, I mean, one thing that I haven't seen many people doing is the test spikes. Just like a developer does a spike, try to understand and reduce the risk with technology. This is a good time for a tester to understand the risk with automation, the strategies in terms of testing complex features and being able to kind of come up with a plan. So test spikes will help him in handling all these issues before the sprint itself. Now once he does that, he gets into the sprint planning, the things become a little bit more easier, where he goes through the story clarification, come up with user acceptance test. I mean, it can happen before the sprint planning itself, but this is the time where he has a dialogue with the entire team and make sure that everybody is in alignment with respect to the user acceptance testing. Goes through the story slicing and help the team in terms of coming up with the task cards, which involves the testing activities also. Then once you move into the sprint, the process of detailed test, which happens in parallel with the development, starts, and the important aspect a tester has to focus here is coming up with the functional test, which will drive the development. Again, we are going to kind of touch base on this in the upcoming slides, but that's going to be one of the important activity which a tester has to do. And finally, in a sprint closure, the sprint review meetings are a good forum for the testers to get the feedback and make sure that he understands the quality from a customer's perspective. That gives a tester a lot of perspective in terms of what value the customer is looking at when he sees a feature, when the customer sees a feature and shares his feedback. Also, tester has an important role to play in terms of a sprint retrospective and helping the team for continuously improve. I know that this is a heavy slide and a lot of things has been covered in this single slide, but I hope this basically gives us a high-level view in terms of various activity a tester performs as he goes through the software development in an agile methodology, specifically if they are following Scrum. Now here is the challenge, or here is the interesting part. We call testing in Agile as a whole team activity. It's not only the responsibility of a tester, so it's also the responsibility of the programmers. It's also the responsibility of other team members to ensure that testing is completed, and the expectation from my customers in terms of the quality has met. So with this in mind, knowing the various activity that a tester has to perform during the